Hi, you guys. So let's just get right into it because so much has happened this week. Kaya Lily Broderick was born. This is Kristen Doute's daughter. She's super excited, and she released this post to let everybody know. Simultaneously, as you guys know from my previous videos, of course, that Nia had her fourth child with Danny Bucco, and so everybody's kids are now born. Here's a picture of Danny and Nia's baby. They also had a daughter, which will be nice because Kristen Doute's baby can play with her if Nia and Kristen can stay getting along. But as you guys know, in real life, Kristen and Nia are really close, so that's likely. Now everybody's going to understand why Danny Bucco, with 4 kids, under 4 as he likes to say, maybe pounds it a little hard sometimes to release some of the pressure. Since we're getting ready for the group trip, which is going to be in Maui so that Luke can ask Kristen Doute on the show to marry him, they've leaked the reunion seating chart, and here is what it is, as you guys can see. This tells you a lot, actually. It would appear that although the show tried to denounce Jax several times, he's still the #1 guy. And Michelle and Zach are not. So this was the most shocking reunion look for me because it's Janet Caperna. She lost a lot of weight, after having her baby, and you can see she's really trying to show like a major glow up following season 1 and 2 of the show, and I think she's achieved that. This was my favorite look of the evening because it was really classy. This outfit was just ridiculous. Look at his pants. Like, are you serious, Jesse, right now with these pants? Burn them. Everyone else looked as expected. Those were the only ones worth highlighting for you guys. So I'm going to move on now. So on tonight's show, you're going to see that Tom Schwartz makes a big appearance. It turns out that Jax has rented a townhome in North Hollywood right next to his. And they're literally sharing walls and like a balcony on the top, sort of. Tom Schwartz seems to want to distance himself with Jax a little bit because of what happened with Tom Sandoval. I think he still has PTSD, but at the same time, Jax is really excited to be back with his best friend again, like they did back in the Vanderpump Rules days where they were, best friends and living together and having a frat life. So there's kind of an interesting dynamic happening between Tom Schwartz and Jax in the show. You're also going to find out in a minute that Frank Drebin is actually Jax Taylor. This was a fan account he created to watch what the fans were saying about him and maybe others on the show, as well as to write comments that were supportive to him. Now, I know that everyone's going to be like, oh, this is so cringe and this and that. But unfortunately, 90% of Bravo celebrities buy their followers, plus do these types of stunts to pretend that they're popular. Just saying. So I jumped to Frank Drebin's Insta today, and this was what was on the story. LOL, busted. It was sad faces. Oh, it's okay, Jax. You can make another one. Don't worry. Now, remember, even though Jax Taylor didn't do much on the season of The Valley, he was the highest paid cast member. I think he got $340,000 or something for this season. So he's the one laughing at the bank. Everybody else was under him. Now, this was published today about his townhouse next to Tom Schwartz. And there's a picture of it from the outside. We see a lot of the inside on the show today, but we don't see the outside. So I thought I'd share this with you. And the Sun found out that Jax Taylor's been shelling out $5,600 a month for a Hollywood bachelor pad after leaving Brittany Cartwright's marital home. Now, on the show tonight, Jax is like, I am not taking this couch because it was like 20 grand and I'll leave it for Brittany. But then we jump to the pictures from this article, and actually it does appear to be the same couch in Brittany's living room that Jax said he wasn't taking. I guess he decided to take it after all. I don't think it's really 20 grand, just saying. But there it is. So again, Jax lying about what he's giving Brittany. So weird. He keeps doing this on the show, but then in reality, it's not what's happening. Another really strange thing is that Tom Schwartz has decided to wear socks with a message at the bottom of it, but it's not just any message. It's a message to bring him more Coors Light. And I'm like, Tom, I see you. Did you get a paid placement for this? Meanwhile, Brittany Cartwright has actually completely changed, I guess, the interior of her house now, that it doesn't remind her at all of Jax Taylor. So she's made it her own and hopefully got it out of foreclosure. So Brittany made a bunch of changes to the house, and specifically she added some pink rugs. She changed anything that had Jax's name on it to her son Cruz. She added a pink rug in the gym and made it more girly. She added, I think, a neon sign, "It's Brittany, bitch," all this stuff to make the house more hers and get rid of Jax's stuff. She also created a sensory room for her son to really help out with his special needs. And that's it, wiped out Jax's identity completely from the place. Good for her. Also, in case you're wondering, Brittany and Jax are not officially divorced yet, although it's definitely in the post. So that should be happening soon, I'd say, to both of their happiness. Jax also admitted on today's show that he is not sober and didn't plan to be. This brings home all the gossip that I've been told about him really partying his ass off in his podcast tour. And I do mean with drugs and alcohol. So this is an example of how you have to watch your back in reality TV, what I'm about to tell you. So allegedly, Jax Taylor was the one who suggested bringing Kristen Doute onto the Valley to help Kristen Doute out because she needed money and this and that. Well, Kristen Doute, as of season 2 of The Valley, was like, I don't think we should have Jax Taylor on this show anymore. He's really bringing it down, this and that, right? Well, Andy Cohen even brought that up to Jax. And as you probably heard Jax tease a few times on the show, right, which they've left in, and also publicly on Watch What Happens Live, he feels very much that The Valley is his show. And that is because he developed the show with Alex Baskin, which is why he's getting the most amount of money, even though he didn't really appear on the show. But Kristen was kind of like, I don't want him on the show. And I think Jax is sort of like, I don't have the official power to really cast the show, say who shouldn't be on or what, but I definitely am going to be involved in the show no matter what if it goes forward. So he kind of swings that around every once in a while when he gets pissed and you see him wield it, right? Well, Andy said to him, listen, now remember, Andy has nothing to do with this show, really, outside of advising Bravo, maybe if they ask him something about it. But Andy said, Kristen doesn't want you on the show. The fans don't seem to want you on the show. And he's just like, well, whatever. It's kind of my show. So tough. And then all the fans started this change.org asking for Jax to be removed from the show because of his disturbing content that he provided. To be clear, Jax is not an official producer of the show, but he definitely is what anchored this show. And so did Brittany Cartwright, but more Jax than her, which you can see by the paycheck difference. Jax will continue love being the villain because he will be the talk of everyone and very difficult to get rid of, even if the fans don't like him, because he's willing to play that part, which is valuable to Bravo. I know, we're all getting played. So let's talk about The Valley Season 2, Episode 10 recap. We open up the show and Jax is back from his 30-day stint at rehab in this beautiful place where he had 7 hours of therapy, he says, all day, every day, and then in between would rage text Brittany, of course, and watch her on live cam in her house. Okay, but that's all right. We'll just leave that alone for a minute. In addition to that, we find out that Jax has finally dealt with some really tough subjects for him. His father's death really impacted him. He had some really bad issues with his mother. We don't know what, if she abused him or not, but there's something he hints to with that, and that his childhood had a bunch of problems. And he comments that nobody really cares about him at all because not one person came to visit him in rehab, not even Brittany, who he was married to for 10 years. So he can't understand why the rage texting would keep Brittany away, which is a pretty big sign of bipolar, just saying. I want to just call that out. Knowing the cameras and the fans won't likely believe him, he presents a coin showing he did do AA and was sober for 30 days. However, he's kind of decided that he's not going to stick with it anymore. In one scene, he's like, I've paid all the bills up to date. And another, he kind of says, no, I haven't. Again, we're just seeing lots of lies when it has to do with Britt and the finances. He says that he wants Brittany Cartwright to sell the house that they have together right away, and that she doesn't need a 5-bedroom house. She needs a house that's fewer bedrooms to take care of their son. So they need to sell that, and he can get his money out, and so can she, and move on. Now, obviously, we know that's not happening on Brittany's end, and she's made sure to make good use of the space in the house if asked by a judge at any point in juncture whether she needs that house or not. Jesse has decided to host a party for Zach Wickham and his man, Benji, who has now, I guess, moved to the U.S. from Canada, but he's got like a visa, so he's allowed to do it, and it's proper. The name of the party is Departed, Not Deported. Let's hope ICE doesn't watch The Valley. What's odd about this is Zach is like, Benji's moving here so we can live together and see if we can get serious, or whether this is all like stupid and we should break up. And I thought to myself, like, you should probably figure that out before someone moves in with you, especially in another country. We also see a scene with Aaron shooting with Michelle. And he's like, is it weird that I want you and Isabella to like live with me and be a family and all this stuff? And Michelle's like, no, it's not weird. And in fact, we could get engaged. And, she's kind of hinting at engagement. And Aaron sort of brushes it off, but also is like open to it. But now we get a glimpse into the fact that Michelle kind of wants to jump from one marriage into another, which is a little bit of a red flag for me. That said, Michelle speaks about how Jesse has denied her the ability to have the daughter, Isabella, spend time with her grandmother who's dying of cancer. Much more than she maybe normally would. And we find out later that Jesse's rationale around that is that they need to have some sort of conversation with Isabella about death and whether or not it's too much for her with everything else going on. I mean, this didn't fly with me at all. I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, sorry, if a grandma's dying of cancer, you let the kids, address that with the grandma. You go let the kid be around the grandma. It's not about the kid at that point. It's about the grandma, and the kid can handle it and rise to the occasion like all kids do. And it's a good time also to talk about, even if the kid's really young, how life works with a little death in it, because it exists. And frankly, I was kind of turned off by Jesse even more than after seeing his pants when I saw this part of the show. So he goes to dinner with the boys, and what comes out of the dinner is that the boys are all mad at Danny Bucco for being Danny Darko when he drinks. And, we've got Jason being like higher than thou again about this particular thing, which I just don't get, because like I said, I don't think Danny Bucco deserves what they're doing to him. It doesn't come across on camera at all that he's doing anything inappropriate or different than anybody else in the group in terms of drinking and getting a little pissed off at people. Like, come on. So it's weird. And I just don't think they were able to establish that storyline properly. And plus, with all the kids the guy has and the stress of being in LA, you can't blame him. So it's like, where are they going with this? Jason ends up just looking like kind of a Karen. And it's at this moment we realize that one Karen has married another Karen. Anyway, Jax is pissed about the Britt rebranding of his bar. He also doesn't want Zach Wickham to be in his bar anymore because Zach comes for him very hard in the next scene. So we jump to, after Brittany put all of Jax's stuff in the garage in garbage bags, to Jax coming and saying, bullshit, I'm not just taking this. And taking whatever I guess he saw fit was his and was pre-agreed or not, we don't really know. And so he takes everything that he wants, and he actually is pretty fair about it. We find out even from Brittany later, and he moves in with, his new house, which I talked about earlier, next to Tom Schwartz. So we find out that Luke is going to ask Kristen to marry him in Maui and do a group trip, but Nia and Danny are going to pretend it's their trip. Okay, to cover it up and get this all set up. And I do think they really tried to kind of protect Kristen from knowing about all this with the show. So, because that's way better TV. So anyway, that's what this plan is concocted. So one thing that does happen is that Jax and Zach have a big fight. And it actually, I think, was a real fight where Zach is sticking up for Brittany, talking about Jax rage texting, Brittany in such a horrible way and watching her on cameras. And Jax is trying to downplay it and tell his own narrative that's like, this, I'm changed and everything's great and let's just forget about all that. And Zach's not letting him. And he's trying to get him more and more angry. And I think that we're waiting to see if Jax actually got triggered and went for it. But he doesn't. He takes a beat, which is, by the way, anger management 101. And he says, like, I'm not going to knee-jerk react to this. I'm going to take a breath and then I'm going to leave and, not engage with Zach. So that kind of happens. And Jax wants to talk to Brittany this whole time about their kid, but Brittany refuses. Now, I think she told production, like, I know you brought him here for me to talk to him, but I'm not doing it. Like, it's too raw for me. So they didn't do it. But they got them in the same room together, which production was like, we got to do to keep the show going. So that was an important scene. But Zach is now banned from Jax's bar. Now, this was a bold move for Zach, and the only reason Zach was able to do this against Jax is because he had Brittany's endorsement, okay? Because Brittany is not the number one guy in the group in terms of salary, but the second guy in the group in terms of salary, right under Jax. So she has say. And so I think she asked Zach to do the fight with Jax. And the producers allowed it. We end the show with Jax getting divorce papers from Brittany and Tom Schwartz telling him it's like a love letter as divorce papers go, and Jax believing him but not understanding that she's asking for 100% custody of their son. Okay, because she used wording that he didn't get. So, he texts her, I saw the divorce coming, this isn't on the show, and, not angry or anything. He was ready, for this divorce to happen. But I don't think at this moment that this is all going down. He realized he was losing custody of his kid in the way that she filed her divorce. All right, you guys, like, subscribe, and hit the notification button, and we'll talk soon.